Pembroke Corporate Bond Fund and GBC Canadian Bond Fund, the yield to maturity, if you were to own that bond, own that portfolio, and think of it as an overall bond, the yield to maturity, so the cash that's being paid out of that portfolio on a regular basis, 5.7% in the higher yielding Pembroke Corporate Bond Fund, higher yielding because it invests more so in corporate bonds, bonds issued by corporations. GBC Canadian Bond Fund, more conservative, 25% minimum allocated to government bonds, 4.1% in yield, so just holding that portfolio, doing nothing, we'd collect that as a coupon or a yield or a return. Average term, what we've done there is we've taken every bond in the portfolio and in the weight that they're in the portfolio and the term of each one of those bonds, the average, and it's just coincidental that they both have the exact same average term, but 10.4. So you think about that, each of the portfolios, and simplifying, is like owning a 10-year bond. One of the more complex figures in there is duration, and duration is a term that we as bond managers use day in, day out, because what duration indicates to us is the sensitivity to the change in value of the portfolio with a change in interest rates. So quite quickly, if we saw a 1% increase in interest rates with a duration on the portfolio of 5.4, we'd see a negative hit to the portfolio of 5.4%. Same interest rate change in GBC Canadian bond, a 1% rate increase. And I'm saying a 1% rate increase, we've got bonds ranging from very short term to long term, almost 40 years in term. And so that's sort of assuming a parallel shift, that every single one of those rates would change in unison, a parallel shift across that curve. That would be a negative hit with a 1% increase of 6.1%. And I'll get back to that. So if you look at that, you're picking up that yield, a 1% hit, come down a bit, but that's only scratching the surface at looking at the positions in the portfolio. And as a manager, what we're doing to ensure that we will have a successful strategy, a good return, and a healthy margin of outperformance in a number of different environments. Maple bonds, right now we're at, I would say, an all-time high in Pembroke and in the GBC Canadian Bond Fund of exposure to maple bonds. And maple bonds, you're probably asking, what does that mean? Well, maple bonds are when a foreign issuer issues their bonds in the Canadian market, but they issue them in Canadian dollars. And that's a particular subsector or component of the market that we're seeing tremendous value. It seems like everyone, Canadian and foreign alike, wants to buy Canadian bonds. Canadian issued bonds. Foreigners are coming to the market. They want access to the Canadian dollar, exposure to the Canadian dollar. They're buying Canadian bonds, Canadian issues. We're finding tremendous value in very high quality bonds in those maple bonds. And the benefit of these maple bonds is there's no currency risk because they're issued in Canadian dollars. Coupon payments come in Canadian dollars. It's really the issuer that assumes that currency risk. And that's a theme that we believe will continue over the upcoming year.